I guess so. So we can look at the attendance here. And people are queuing in. So I think what I'm going to do, who is ever on right now, I'm going to wait about 2 minutes so we can give people a chance to be admitted. So wherever everybody is at, thank you for joining, and we will be with you very soon. Okay. 9 on so far. Hmm.
One question for Cesar or you, Susan. Are people going to be able to ask questions unmuted?
I think they're going to just ask questions through the Q&A, and I already see. Oh, Doug is asking, who wants a great 2021?
Me.
They're going to ask in the Q&A or in the chat. So, you know, I think we better go ahead and start. Okay. So welcome everybody who has joined us for the Globinar today. I'm Susan Assadi, and I'm the director of the New York City chapter of the Global Chamber. So our chapter is a growing arm of the Global Chamber, which, as many of you know, has chapters all around the world in 525 metro regions. So we're able to help members grow anywhere in the world at this point. So our work is doing programs such as this one today, educating our members on aspects of how to do business globally and with trusted contacts. So today we're going to focus on how you can get more from marketing and PR to drive your sales in 2021. And to answer the founder's question, Doug Brunke, we all want a better 21 than 20. I can't imagine any of the three of us who were on this panel or any of the participants would not want that. So today we have 3 speakers, and each is going to present for 10 minutes from their expertise, and then we'll follow with about 30 minutes of Q&A, which you can send questions through the Q&A or through chat, and we will do our best to answer them all. So first up is our esteemed Charles Barnard, who is the founder and CEO of Criteria for Success. And Charles, why don't you take control and share your screen?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Susan. I'm very excited to be here and looking forward to a great discussion. Please participate, because this is really for you primarily, meaning the attendees, to get value today. Don't leave any questions on the field so that we can make sure we've done our job. So today I'm going to just give a few slides just to get us thinking and started. So this is what we're talking about. A little bit about me. I'm the CEO of Criteria for Success. We're a management consulting firm that also does sales training, training programs, and we also develop online sales playbooks for companies. First thing I'd like to do is ask a question. What enables buying? And I'm going to punch this out as a multiple choice question. Is it timing? Is it value transfer? Clear ROI, relevance, or all of the above? So let's see if we've got some people who'd like to participate and answer. I can see the Q&A. I can't see the chat. So if someone can see the chat, let me know if anyone's putting anything in the chat. I can't see it.
I'm watching it.
So anyone want to jump in and just, I'll give you a second or a couple of seconds to think about it. All of the above. Ernie, got it. Thank you, Ernie. Now, here's a little bit of a provocative question. what enables buying the most out of that list, if you had to guess? So who wants to take a crack at, of that list? Yes, it's all of the above, but which one enables buying the most, if you had to guess? Value transfer. Why value transfer? Well, I think if you're a leader, whether you're a leader of a sales team, whether you're a leader of a marketing team, whether you're the CEO of the company, or you lead a group of people in an organization, my experience has told me that number one priority, or one of your top priorities, is to enable knowledge, valuable knowledge, to be transferred in the organization at a peer level, up and down, sideways. And that to me is both cultural and procedural. And I think value transfer happens within an organization, meaning you're getting all the stuff that, all the best practices that are in people's heads out and available. People are getting trained, people are getting developed, people are learning from the top performers, but also value is transferred between an organization and its clients. So clients will buy generally if they see value and if they see ROI. So to me, the biggest driver is making sure that that's happening in your organization, on your sales team, because that's what I focus on, primarily sales. I know Diane and Susan are going to be talking about other aspects of business development, but sales is my primary focus. I want to put this up to see if we can get some reaction. And these are the common problems that I see that are out there in my day-to-day dealings, mostly with business owners, but with salespeople and sales leaders. So I'll leave that up there and love to get a reaction to what's up there. Meaning, are these your problems, or do you have similar problems? Or frankly, do you have other problems that aren't on here? I'd love to hear what it is that you personally are grappling with. And it doesn't have to be one, it could be multiple. So just punch in a number in the chat or in the Q&A. I can now see the chat. Which one of these apply to you? Are you feeling that you have similar concerns? So some people are worried that they don't have the right sales team, or maybe not even the right sales leader. Lack of accountability is a big one. Probably the one that I do the most work in is no playbook. Salespeople aren't adapting to the new environment, especially COVID. A lot of people prefer in-person. Well, that's not happening as much. Attention spans are very short. So keeping buyers engaged is a big issue. This one is something that we're going to talk about today, which is aligning and leveraging PR and marketing, and obviously sales, my area. Prospects don't see ROI or value. And again, my contention is, if you can develop a sales process, if you as a seller, if you as a business developer can help buyers see value and see a return. And by the way, when we say return, we're not always talking about just pure dollars and cents. It could be return on effort, return on expectations, return on time, energy. So if they see a return and if they see value, they're likely to buy, regardless of the current environment. And then my favorite I left to the end is not overcoming self-limiting beliefs. Why is that? Because I think that is the fundamental issue that most people today and all times are grappling with, which is their own self-limiting beliefs, their own beliefs about their industry, their market. I can't tell you how many salespeople are telling me that people aren't buying, people don't have money. And so there are all these beliefs that if you act from those beliefs as a salesperson or a sales organization, or even at a company level, then you're almost claiming a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I like to have people challenge those beliefs, because it's what you do that I think is more important than what you think. And so Those are the common problems. That's some of the stuff that we might address today if we have time. So think about these. You might want to take a screenshot. And as we're going through our discussion today, it might be something you want to come back to and say, hey, I'd like to put this on the table as an issue. Let's talk about it. Another little question for you. If you want to be a consultative seller, which of these would you say applies the most? Is it A, B, C, or D? And again, I'll give you some time to think about that. A, B, C, or D. One of them's right. At least I'm looking for one right answer. And the answer I'm looking for is C. Consultative sellers ask good questions, they uncover problems, they share solutions, and they tell stories. And I'd be really, really curious, as maybe you would be. Yeah, you got it, Doug, thank you. I'd be really, really curious if my panelists, my co-panelists, have mechanisms that drive some of those behaviors, because I think asking good questions is almost the most fundamental aspect of selling. Because if you ask a good question, one that really makes someone think, wow, what a good question. Let me think about how I want to answer that question. Think about all the processing that's going on in their head as they're determining how to answer that question. And that's going to get access to number two, which is concerns, problems. Because I think consultative sellers operate as problem solvers. And if you uncover a problem, you want to share a solution. But I found some of the best salespeople, generally speaking, top performers, tell stories. And I don't mean long-winded stories. I mean anecdotes, stories like examples of where you as an organization have solved those problems, what have been the tangible benefits. Tangible, you usually have a number in them. So we increase sales by 100%. That's your punchline, by the way, in the story. So just quickly, when you're telling a story, see if you can include a number, because people will remember the number and it adds credibility. So that's it. I wanted to just set that up and hand it back to, I'll do a stop share and then hand it back to Susan. Thank you everybody for your answers in the chat. I really appreciate it. Susan, you're on mute.
Okay, let's see if I can share my screen here. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Okay, so I am going to address the issue. How do I hide all these screens here? Optimizing PR to drive sales for 2021. So I'm just trying to close my own window. How do I do that? Hide self view. Okay. All right. So, you know, part of what has been discussed, at least between Charles and Diane and I, is, you know, a lot of people are getting a bit confused on the difference between PR and marketing. So I thought I'd do a little fresh primer on what PR is. So according to the PRSA, the Public Relations Society of America, public relations is a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their public. So what public relations is about sharing the right information to the right places and people to build brand reputation. So it's a persuasion business. PR helps build awareness and create a positive image of your business, but also PR can manage crises, whether you have a defective product, potential lawsuits, or employee-related scandals. Some of the activities included in basic PR, press releases, media relations, social media marketing, which includes the basics on my end, or Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, press conferences, and in today's world, COVID-19, doing virtual press conferences, special events, which could be industry conferences, which also in this current environment, we're pivoting to virtual special events, market research on your industry and your competition, and blogging on your website and other content platforms such as Medium and LinkedIn. So in 2021, and in all times, you need to define your needs. Today, you have to include a context adjustment. I mean, you're starting a new year in 21. If we weren't in pandemic, there would be other issues to take into account. But this year, we're very focused on how do we do business in this environment. You have to establish a realistic expectation for your campaign. You need to employ a proper approach, which in today's world would include latest digital technology, using AI, using predictive analytics. And I would suggest accept strategic counsel from experts. And you need to prioritize your media. And I will discuss that a little bit more as we go through this. And as Charles referenced, and Diane and I agree, you need to align your PR with marketing. In order to make this whole dynamic work in 21, moving forward, it has to be a team effort. I've noticed a lot of times when I've worked with clients, unfortunately, those different groups sometimes silo themselves. And if it's not a team effort, it will not work. So PR focuses on your outside communication through earned media primarily, and you need to avoid inconsistent messaging. So if you're working as a team, you're all speaking the same narrative. If you're not, you will not succeed. So when I work with clients and focusing on questions, as we talked about how important it is for sales, one of the first things I do when I'm working with my client is to articulate what the value proposition is of their company. What is going to differentiate you from your competition? You have to have a pragmatic view of your value proposition. If you're working with an expert, they're going to help ground you. Sometimes what happens if too many people inside a company are listening to the same story, often they don't have a pragmatic view. That's why working with outside experts helps. And, I always ask, who cares? Why should a journalist consider your story? Why should they be writing about you? So one of the things I thought might be helpful is to look at the big brands. These are very obvious. Amazon, it's out there all the time. Just recently, in the last few days, they wrote about them after Thanksgiving, all the best Black Friday deals you can shop at Amazon. So to be a big brand, you've got to have a lot of stories and you've got to be able to articulate them. Twitter, also familiar to all of us. Twitter's regularly featured and cited. The New York Times just recently wrote a piece about after chaotic 4 years, Wall Street's itching to unfollow Donald Trump. So the point is that they are regularly featured and cited in the news cycle, and that's something you have to be prepared for. Uber has recurring featured coverage, sometimes positive and sometimes negative. This is a piece that was written in TechCrunch, a very well-known tech publication. So they're talking about human capital and Uber's Black employee base shrinks. So that could be considered a negative story. But the reason I brought up these three major brands is to bring back the issue. You have to know your value proposition and really, ground yourself in terms of who are you really? And why should the public care? So the objective of a PR campaign is to help you stand out in your industry. So since we are the Global Chamber and we're very focused on import and export in one way or another, you need to I'm using that, that type of, company, that sector, import export business as your industry. So you may not fit exactly, but that's what I'm using here. So you need to research other players in your industry and consider how your company can compete with the other brands in your industry. PR will build your brand, so journalists will begin to cite your executives and feature your company. I thought it might be helpful to point out a couple of successful PR campaigns. PR Week, one of our industry publications in public relations, picked these as top PR campaigns during the lockdown 2020. This is a German football club called Borussia Mönchengladbach, and I'm sure I mispronounced that for the German speakers here. But the point is they invited their fans to send in pictures of themselves so they could be printed on these life-size cardboard cutouts. So, you know, when I saw this, I thought about the NBA. And when I watched the NBA games when they came back for a short time, you know, this is what people were doing. They were like, you know, sending in their photos from their iPhones or whatever, and they were appearing like they were in the stand. But this campaign was cited by PR Week as a very good and successful campaign. Another successful campaign was this small bookshop in Dallas, which actually launched it's an online retailer to sort of get through the problems of all the bookstores, you know, closing. And it launched this campaign. It was a website appearing to offer holidays to destinations like Cuba, Alaska, and Brazil. In reality, they were selling books that could transport customers to far-flung climes while being read during lockdown. So the point is, these are creative PR campaigns, and you would hope if you're doing one, you would be creative even in these times as we are living today in post-COVID. So the basic guidance I give my clients is don't self-promote in your news releases. Marketing is not a PR story. You work with your marketing team, but your press release and your news, if you're posting even on social media, should not be fully marketing. Don't publicize that you just have a product or service. Think about the impact on your stakeholders and the impact on your industry. So just the bottom line, there has to be news if you're going to do a press release or even blast an email out if it's going to the media. Focus your narrative. Don't say too much. Streamline your rollout. So you're telling one story at a time. Often when I start working with clients, they want to tell everything in their first press release. They've got 4 stories going on. Well, just like with us, you can, if you're reading an email or you're reading some kind of communication, you've got to have one thought you really want to drive. And often I say it 3 times in 3 different ways, but say the same message. So simplify what you're saying. And simplify goes even to the point of how the words you're using. Communicate your narrative in a vernacular, in an everyday language. If you're a technology company or if you're a healthcare company, you may be among your research team or your development team able to understand some high-tech language. Well, if you're doing some announcement or even writing something on Medium or LinkedIn, you need to think your audience may not understand something very technical. So I can't stress that enough. And reduce the use of buzzwords in your communication. And such as, and even I am a victim of saying this too much, such as thought leader, innovative, and groundbreaking. Everybody's using those words in one way or another. So you need to try to find other ways to express yourself so you're not saying the same thing that everyone else is. And I might add, even though we need to take it into context of everything we all are doing, don't overuse the COVID-19 pandemic, because I feel like everyone is using it everywhere, and I think you need to take it into account, but you need to be careful in your communication that we're not driving that same message, that we're moving on, even though we're taking it into account, but not overuse it. So to the point of evaluating your need for an expert, a PR expert, if you are an entrepreneur with 1 employee, you probably can do PR on your own. If you're an entrepreneur with 5 employees with proven results, like you've actually, you know, got some type of revenue and you've got some kind of testimonials, you may need a PR expert. But if you're an executive with 5 to 50 employees, I would recommend you either have to have a PR communications person inside your company or consider hiring an outside PR expert. So a couple of last points here for strategic media strategy. Don't expect the major media to cover you immediately. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a meeting and the CEO says, I say, what do you want? They want to be on the front of Fortune, or they want to be in the Wall Street Journal, or they want to be on CNBC. Well, if no one has ever heard of you before, I assure you, unless you're, you know, some magic from heaven, you won't make that, you won't get that coverage. So if unknown, begin with the media and our trades. And I just use the Arizona Republic as an example. So another pointer is optimize your opportunities for coverage. Often when people do interviews, they're very focused on their messaging and their talking points, and they will miss an opportunity to pivot to an opportunity. Sometimes a reporter will ask a question and it's not exactly the message the client wants to convey. You need to learn to answer those questions quickly and pivot to your message. You got to learn to balance adapting to the reporter's needs and getting your message out. Because I assure you, if you do that, reporters are going to come back to you. When my clients have been able to answer, even if it's not quoted, even if they don't get into the story, the reporter's going to remember that that CEO or that whoever the other C-suite person, you know, gave them some information, and they will remember. And the next time they come back to you, they will more likely quote you. Generally, manage expectations for your campaign. Don't expect the major media to the first time out. As I said earlier, it's a trust game. You know, just as we have trusted contacts through the Global Chamber, the media relationship is a trusted relationship, and they need to understand your narrative. So be prepared and be available for interviews, because the worst thing you can do is put a news announcement out and then your CEO or whoever the executive is that has been quoted in that communication is not available. Please be available. And, you know, generally on the monetizing of PR, because, you know, I have a history of getting people fairly regularly in the major media, and they've gotten in Fast Company, or they've gotten the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. But if they do not have the mechanism through a expert marketing team or sales team to promote the coverage, and that means if you get that citation or that feature in the Wall Street Journal, have a mechanism set up to send out emails, to communicate with your prospects, to communicate with your clients. You have to promote your coverage. It does not promote itself. Often you'll get phone calls from prospects, but you must promote your coverage. And again, back to the idea of teamwork with your marketing team. And then this approach will drive your sales. So that's pretty much my presentation. This is my contact information. I will share it in chat as well. And thank you very much. And I'm going to stop sharing.
Susan, we got a question from Doug.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Doug was asking, how do you coordinate PR with sales ahead of the release/initiative and during and after? So how do you coordinate PR with sales before you do a release or a PR initiative, and during the release of the PR and after? So in other words, how would sales work with PR in the before, during, and after scenario?
Great question, as always, Doug, and thank you, Charles, for pointing it out. The way you do it is before you plan even to do an announcement. I mean, your announcement is based on what's going on inside your company. I mean, you know, the PR team is working with the information that comes. So you need to strategize with that sales team that we're doing the press release on Friday, on December 3rd, Thursday. And, you know, it's going to go out on PR Newswire, or you're going to send it out some kind of direct feed. They should also, with their marketing team arm, be blasting to prospects exactly when it hits. When that press release hits, right away, they should be set up to send out a marketing and a sales pitch. And phone calls should be being made right away. And if it gets picked up in any way, you know, well, you know, the minute it hits, so that's the before. During, what I would suggest, you know, as you're doing that blast, you should be following up with your highest prospects. I mean, you should have a list of top 3, you know, that you are very close to closing. And if you contact them and say, you know, we just made this major announcement and it's on PR Newswire, Business Hour, or wherever, it's right here. Okay. And then the after is hopefully, which, you know, if you're working with a good story, that's number one, has to be a new and important story. If you're working with a good story and Fast Company or Wall Street Journal picks it up, right away the after is, look at this. Our company was just featured and cited in this industry story in the Wall Street Journal. Looking forward to speaking with you tomorrow, whatever. It can be a phone call, it can be an email. That's the perfect wheel. And it's an excellent question, Doug. Thank you. I think that's it for the questions. Okay, because I want to right away go to Diane. And Diane Ovid is the founder and CEO, marketing and PR strategist at Empower Digital. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm going to talk about how social media marketing is vital for you to create a thriving business or a project, even in today's marketplace that's dealing with so much distraction, obviously with COVID-19, social unrest, the election cycle. There's a way to market effectively and monetize with everything going on. Quick background on me. I come from the corporate world and the finance world, and originally started my career in corporate finance after Wharton and being in the entertainment industry. And I've worked with many large corporations as well as talent in the entertainment industry. And I work with individuals as well as startups in various areas from medical, fashion, tech, lifestyle, travel, etc. And basically, you know, I'm here to talk about, you know, how you can actually use social media to your advantage to have a thriving business, no matter what's going on. Obviously, we're in a very hectic landscape. The news cycle is very rapid and new topics are trending constantly. And so my job is to help my clients figure out how to break through the noise. And as Susan mentioned, you know, about finding, you know, what makes you unique, what distinguishes you. That is very important on the marketing side as well. And recognizing that you are a brand. And when I describe my, you know, my role is I help people basically program their channels. All these social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. I liken them to like our modern era TV channels. And it's important that you recognize that, you know, you have to create interesting and engaging content so that people are tuning into your channels. And a lot of people make mistakes on how they present themselves. And you have to tell a story that actually makes sense and ask yourself, you know, does this, what you're pushing out, you know, through your channels, does this make sense as part of my story? Ask yourself, you know, what are you advocating? What are your business goals? Social media is so powerful. You're now empowered to communicate directly to your audience. And, you know, regarding all the platforms, obviously the market is very fragmented. You've got, you know, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, and obviously newcomers like Parler and Telegram. And it's important to focus on the platforms that make sense for your audience. So, you know, obviously if you have a younger audience and you have a lot of video content, you may want to look into TikTok and Triller. You know, if you're more focused on B2B, then probably, you know, Facebook, LinkedIn are, you know, your kind of go-tos. So it really is very specific to the industry, the product, the service, and where the audience lives. So when I work with a client, I help to figure out kind of what platforms to invest effort in. Because you have to treat every platform differently because there are nuances in how you post on each platform, and every platform has a different algorithm, meaning a different way to kind of reach your fan base through their feeds. And so you have to treat every platform differently and come up with different strategies for each platform. The way I view it is, essentially there's an art and a science to social media marketing. The content and your work has to be beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, engaging, but there is a science on how to post, when to post, how to engage, all the different tricks and tips to optimize what you're doing so that you're getting more eyeballs. And so knowing, a lot of people may know how to create content, but not many know the science behind the platforms and how to use the algorithms to your advantage. I'll talk a little bit about trends on the social media platforms as well. Obviously, real-time communication with your audience and responding to global conversations is incredibly important. Susan talked about how you don't want to just self-promote all the time. The whole point of social media is that it's a two-way street. It's a two-way dialogue between you and your audience. And, that's how it started, is that the beauty of social media is that it's not like a website. It's basically an audience you're having with, it's a conversation that you're having with your audience every day. And so it's important to treat social media as a conversation, not just pushing out content. So thinking about, what type of content your audience wants to see, and also obviously engaging daily with your audience. Obviously video is important, especially, we saw a boom in live video during the pandemic. So, video and live video is not going away. So a lot of companies still don't have a video strategy. And so I help, work with companies and figure out, what can this video strategy be that's, it doesn't need to be overproduced or highly produced. You can, take a video with your phone. And so thinking about what the video strategy is for your brand is really important. And then ultimately, why do all of this work, right? We're spending all this time creating content, communicating with our audience, running ads. Why are we doing this? Obviously for, monetization. You can drive, massive traffic, massive sales, downloads and conversion through social media. Everyone, especially now that we're in, a semi lockdown state, for the near future, more and more people are glued to their phones, glued to social media. And so we're in a golden age of social media where you have everyone's attention and you have to, like I said, program your channel correctly so that people will tune into your channel. And ultimately, when they're ready, they will want to, purchase your service or your product or, engage with you in some capacity. The tools that the social networks provide are very advanced so that you can hyper target specific individuals, types of individuals, age ranges, zip codes, interests, genders, etc. So you can get very, very specific and precise about, getting to your target audience. I get a lot of questions about, can I market now? This whole year, should I wait until things calm down? Absolutely, you can market. And it is even more important to market now because like I said, people are spending more time at home. They're glued to their devices. And also, people need to know that you're there for them. It's, the people who are there for them in uncertain times, those are the brands and the people that they're going to come back to when they're ready to spend. So it's not, the people who fell off the map during the pandemic, they're going to have a hard time getting their audience back and engage with them when they start marketing again. Our clients, are still growing their business in times of turmoil, economic downturn, pandemic situations, social unrest. We did not stop marketing. We obviously had to pivot our message, our image, make sure everything was appropriate. And we had to pivot obviously multiple times around all the different movements that happened this year. But our team is very innovative and responsive and, tracking what's going on in real time and on the cutting edge. And so having successful marketing recession proofs your company so that you can continue to make money no matter what's happening in the world. And obviously we're in a new era where there's just things happening all the time that, you can't stop marketing every time there's some kind of news alert. So, having, solid marketing, provides, a level of comfort and safety for your business. And, we can help you, navigate changing situations. And then I get a lot of questions, excuse me, can I still advertise? And that answer again is yes. All our clients who continued to spend money during this time received a very high return on their investment because a lot of brands pulled their money out of the ad market. So the people who did stay received a high return on their investment. Now we're, in a phase where most brands have come back and are all advertising. And especially during this holiday period, it's competitive as usual, but you definitely don't want to pull, advertising out when something is going on. You may need to pivot your message, your image, etc. But you've got to, keep on going. But again, be sensitive and not tone deaf to what's going on in the world. And now it's even more crucial to stay connected to your audience. So when they're ready to spend, you're top of mind with them. And that's pretty much it. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And also anyone who would like to set up a free 30-minute consult with me, anyone in this webinar can set that up with me. So I'll put my contact information in the chat, and you can feel free to reach out to me if you want to set up a time and if you have any questions. So thank you so much.
Susan, I've been monitoring the chat. I don't know if you want me to throw out or if you want to do it. We've gotten quite a few questions while Diane and
yeah, I saw some of the questions. So I do see the first one is for you, I think. Too early to predict some of the hot themes and issues to tap into on the PR side. What do you think, Charles, about that PR sales question?
So I think, as I understand the question, it's how do you coordinate PR with sales and marketing? And one thing that I've seen, I'm going to go old school, new school, right? So old school was PR, marketing would set messaging, and it kind of rolls down to the sales team. Like, here's the messaging for the quarter. Here's the PR initiatives that we're working on. And sales is kind of following along. New school is all three are working together to create the messaging because each constituent has their perspective. So I think salespeople are really good at providing insights on the ground. Like, here's what my clients are saying. Here's what I think will resonate. And then marketing is clearly working on collateral, lead generation, as Diane was talking about, social media, trends, competitive industry. And then PR is going to obviously communicate a lot of that in some form through publications, online, in print potentially. So my answer to that question, Susan, is I think the way to do it is to really coordinate and get everybody's points of view together and not have this kind of hierarchical way of integrating the three.
Okay. Diane, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you pretty much covered it.
Okay. Okay, another question. Diane, why don't you take this one? Hot themes question relates to first quarter 21. What are some of the problems small, medium businesses are doing out there right now? And what are they doing right? And what should they not do? What do you think about artificial intelligence, I think, and how it's creeping into sales, marketing, and PR?
So I think I mentioned some of the issues that small businesses or some of the things they're doing wrong is they're not, they don't have a clear brand. They don't have a clear story. Their content is inconsistent or confusing. And so it's really important to have, like I said, a story that you're telling, and think about also like what your goals are with your marketing, and make sure that everything you're doing is aligned with your business goals. So I think those are some of the mistakes people make. Also, a lot of small businesses don't know how to advertise properly, and they think they know what they're doing on social media, and they really don't. A lot of people think social media is just posting, and posting is a very small part of kind of everything you need to do on social media. A lot of small businesses hire people who don't really understand the science behind marketing and social media, and then they say it doesn't work. So it's really important to have a professional that kind of knows what they're doing, that can guide you with the proper strategy, so that you actually see success from your marketing efforts. As far as AI, we do see AI creeping into marketing. I haven't really seen any successful initiatives. There's been chat bots that came and went on Facebook. So I'm not really, social media still needs to be a very personal conversation between the brand or individual and their audience. So I haven't seen like any really successful AI programs that have worked, that are kind of taking people's jobs on the marketing side.
I want to add to that, Diane. I have seen on the sales side AI creeping in from the perspective of lead generation. I think that's probably the biggest area to be exploited, because salespeople, sales teams, the people I work with are constantly clamoring for not only more leads, but better qualified leads. So I think there are a lot of programs out there that are kind of trying to get into that AI space more and more, meaning lead scoring, reaching out to contact the leads, warm up the leads, even targeting, and then provide some, as you were saying, chatbot, some ability to make some initial connections. I do agree with you that that's probably where it falls down a little bit, like that personal touch is missing. But I got to tell you, I'm seeing a lot of focus on improving that area. In other words, I don't think it's going away. I think a lot of companies are working hard to figure out how to make those touches and warming up some of those leads more engaging.
All right. I actually have a question for both of you. I mean, in this world that we're in, where everyone is on video all the time, actually, Diane, we're on video all the time with our communication with each other. So not just, knowing how to do a good Zoom meeting, or doing a good annual meeting, or a good product launch. I mean, there are many people going on here with Zoom, or a CEO going on, or a startup entrepreneur. What are some tips you would give them for differentiating yourself or doing something nuanced when you're exposing yourself all the time on Zoom? It used to be every once in a while you might do a launch and you'd be in front of people. But what is it you're going to do to differentiate yourself when you're doing so much online communication?
I mean, that's a very specific question for what I would have to come up with a plan. Like, that's what I do. So like I would analyze their business, their product, what they're trying to, like what their business goals are. And then I would that's my job to basically come up with their content strategy and be like, here are all the different types of videos you can create, all the different types of imagery, what that looks like. Like, most people, like, they don't know, like they come to me because they don't know what that looks like. And so I basically tell them, like, here are all the different things that we can do that are not just, like you said, self-promotion. Like, here are all the different topics that are, synergistic with what you're doing that, people are going to want to talk about. And it's a collaboration. So like, I may have a bunch of ideas that are relevant to the brand, but they may like some of them, or not like some of them. So it's a conversation, like a brainstorming on like, what does that content strategy look like? And then, it evolves as kind of the times evolve and kind of what the global conversation is. Because like you said, like you have to tailor your message for what the media is actually writing about, like not what you want to say. So it's like, what is the audience actually interested in right now? What is the global conversation? And then what's relevant to my brand? Yeah.
Okay. Charles, do you want to add anything to that, or?
I like Diane's response. I will just say that in my business, probably 5 years ago, but really after a lot of refining 3 years ago, when we started, it was religious. It was religion. At the end of Q4 or middle of Q4, like where we are now, we would plan for the next year. And in putting our own marketing content strategy together, we learned 3 lessons that kind of pivoted the entire strategy off of. And that was, 1, you got to know what the problems are in the industry that you want to solve for. And you got to develop buyer personas, which most people probably by now know about. 3 years ago, buyer personas are like, what? What's a buyer persona? So you want to kind of really get a good sense of who's buying from you, what are their ambitions, what are their problems, what are their goals, what do they care about? And as you go through that exercise, you might discover you have more buyers than you're aware of. Like for us, we always used to say, well, CEOs and VPs of sales. But we're talking about much more than that. Young, old, middle-aged, female, male, in New York City, in the rural areas, that defines different objectives. And then the last thing I'll say is editorial calendar for us was a breakthrough. So an editorial calendar is we had planned a year ahead, every month, what are the themes? And then we would drive all our content to match those themes.
Okay. All right, Diane, I have a question for you. How is it different working with super celebrities and working with companies?
Celebrities, we have kind of a different program for them where it depends on, how much attention they need. And I mean, back when events were happening, and a lot of them are at events every other night and things like that. So it's more of round the clock work with celebrities, depending on kind of the level of talent they are. So I would say it's a time issue, and I have like VIP packages for celebrities and high profile individuals, not just celebrities, but like CEOs and just high profile people who, if they need access to me, after hours on weekends, which is pretty much, it's common, then that they have a different program, because I'm going to be texting with them personally on a daily basis, as well as my team. So I have like different tiers that I offer for people who just need that attention level. And then with, companies, obviously most people are working at all hours these days anyway. For all my business clients, I get emails, all at night, and, I wake up to 30 to 40 emails in the morning. So, we're all working all the time now, I think, but I think just the celebrities, it's just, they personally need my attention. And so I have like different packages, for them, and, in case they want that.
Okay. I'm just wondering whether, it used to be a big thing to get like a celebrity to be your spokesperson. Is it easier now, since a lot of them are not going out to in-person events?
I think obviously we've always done celebrity ambassadorship type programs for brands. So we do influencer programs, we do talent programs. So I've done that for many, many years, so we're doing that now. We've done it before. I think the celebrities who are smart have diverse business models, and a lot of the talent I've worked with, they've got multiple companies and they have different products. They've got like they know that their time window in the entertainment industry is limited, and they've already got their kind of future plans kind of in the works or already done, so that they're getting money from different revenue streams. But so I think they've been open. They've always been open. And I think even more so, I mean, you're seeing more and more talent product lines. Like every day I'm reading about another person launching a product line. So they're always open, and just, it has to be on brand for them. You know, if they're not going to do something that doesn't make sense. So you have to understand like what their interests are. And if it's on brand, they'll listen to.
Okay. Okay. So this is a great last question. And I think Charles, you start with it. Who's the best client company you've ever had and why?
So I'll say any company that we've added significant value to is probably top of my list. So I'll go with a company in Seattle. They're a wealth management company. And so we made a big difference that we grow their business. They quadrupled in size. They hired more people. They grew their business. We worked developing a sales playbook and doing a lot of training. But the reason I think they are my best client is because they had developed a learning culture. And whenever you work with a client, there's nothing more satisfying, at least to me, than somebody who really takes what you offer and runs with it. If you have to beat them over the head to use your best practices, that's not usually a good thing. So wealth management in Seattle with a learning culture was my number one client.
Diane?
I would just say, like, I don't really have favorites. I love to just learn from everyone. Like, the reason I work with talent and brands, from startups to global brands, is just I get to learn all about different products and services, and it keeps my work interesting. But in general, like, all of my clients now are wonderful. I don't take on, nightmare clients that don't listen or that don't trust your expertise. I don't have time for that. And, they're hiring you, all of us as experts. And so if they're arguing and not taking your advice, then it's time to move on. So I move on, much quicker from, those kinds of clients that don't know how to listen. It needs to be a fun experience for both parties. It needs to be collaborative. And if they don't know how to be collaborative, then it also doesn't work. And so, I'm very collaborative and open-minded, and it needs to be a back and forth. So, all of my clients and future clients need to basically be on that page, basically.
Well, I'm going to close by answering this very quickly, similar to you, Diane. I'm not going to name a client because, I usually, like most of my clients, I think Charles is brave. Because if a client ever hears that you don't name them, they're not going to be happy. But I just would echo what you guys are saying. Someone that listens to you, because if they don't listen to you and take your advice, and actually, I've actually worked with many companies who actually compete with you. The marketing and the salespeople are competing. That does not work.
No.
And it often happens where they feel that you're trying to take their job. It is a team. It is a funnel. I mean, it is a circle. And the most important thing is that everyone's listening and engaged and supporting each other and trust. And most importantly, be ready to do the work. Because if you're working with a company, if they are not ready, if they don't engage with you on a recurring basis with your calls or whatever, and don't give you news and don't inform you, and suddenly you find out there's a crisis and you've got to respond, I would say that's a bad thing. But the good clients are the ones that do all the right thing: inform you, trust you, and listen. Okay, I think we're right up at the top of the hour. This has been so much fun, Charles and Diane. I've really enjoyed it. I hope we can do it again and have more participants, but the participants we had were great. The questions were great. And looking forward to the next time.
Thank you.
I think it's a
Thank
close.
you.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Cesar. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Christopher.